We are here at the 11th Annual Games for Change Festival, and I'm with Jenova Chen, who just gave his keynote, the head of That Game Company. Coming to the Games for Change Festival, you had a message more of creating emotion and reaching people on a different emotional level. How does one go about that? How hard is that to do?
I think it's about creating an emotional climax. We call it catharsis. If you make a joke, people laugh a little bit, but they're not going to think about the meaning behind it. And so you have to kind of create an emotion that's strong enough and unexpected enough, so that when it happens, people was hit by it, and then they will question what they have just experienced, and they will start to read into what you are saying. I think it's just we have so much information in life that most of the time we're not listening, and you need to have certain depths for an adult to actually wanting to hear from you. And so my background is film school, so film is a lot easier to explain, right? There are films you're like, that's good, but after you leave, you don't even think about it. You don't even remember anything, right? But there are films where you leave the theater, you don't even want to talk, right? And you go home and you just keep thinking about it. And the second day you talk to your friends, what about that film? What is it? And that's when you actually take something out of it. And I think it's not really about the emotion itself. It's more about creating a situation where people actually listen and think.
Now, you mentioned also was something about getting past those large set pieces, those large explosions, and simplifying things. For example, with Journey, you had mentioned how, in a funny slide, how everybody was kind of geared towards killing each other, and rather than actually experiencing something. And initially, with Journey, you had pushed to the initial connection. You found that they would revert to that.
Right.
And you had mentioned that a child psychologist had said, that people leave their moral code alone when they go online.
Right.
How hard is it to remove all of those aspects that people are used to and change their brain? Because you had mentioned that there was a lot of different points where there's a lot of narratives that aren't explored in the gaming industry. Mm-hmm. And when you look at those, do you specifically say, I want to explore this certain thing or that certain thing, or is it just creating a different experience?
I think if you are trying to do something new, you have to be very clear about the type of experience or emotion you want to go, because if you just want to do something different, the too many targets, you're not going to hit it, because trying to invent something is like sailing in the uncharted water. If you don't even know where your destination is, you're going to sink. But if you know there's a lighthouse somewhere, you can see it, but in between there are a lot of reefs, you know how to avoid them, and it take a longer, but eventually you'll be there. I think it's very clear when you start, you have a clear goal in terms of feeling, but then the stories, the mechanics, and all these things, they turn around. Sometimes this thing will stop working, you have to do some other change, but you need to have that lighthouse.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the Games for Change Festival, how good is it for you to see kind of a community rally around the experiences that you look to create and to change the industry for the better?
Well, that's a big question. I'm just trying to do something that I think will help the industry, but I think to really what I want to see is the industry become a respectable industry by everyone around the world. It's kind of like, it's kind of cliche to say, I want to have an Oscar of the game industry. I mean, we have festival, we have awards, but I think it's just that the level of respect from people, towards the game industry as a whole, because still, at large, game industry seems to be this, violence or gambling, over-sexualized, industry. And to change that, I think many people need to work together to help this to gain respect from society.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, on another angle, you had mentioned and shown letters that your company had received following your games. Your goal is to create that emotional experience. How emotional is it for you to get that back from them?
Yeah, I think this is it makes my day-to-day work really worthwhile. It's just when you make something, you're making, it's like an art. You create an art, you have a lot to say, and the fact you hear from people who viewed the art, and they tell you how they feel about it. It's like your desire to connect with people is coming back, and it's really rewarding to see. And most of the time, I was more moved by these letters than what they perhaps been moved by the game. It's really a blessing thing to see what our players tell us.
Fantastic. And now, as the festival comes to a close, is there one thing that, if this festival and what your goal is there one statement that you could think of that defines that?
You mean the Games for Change as a whole?
Yes.
I think the statement is just, games has been mainly used for leisure and distractions and fun, but games is interactive media. A media is capable of doing many more things that is impactful, that's meaningful, that is going to change the world for the better. And I think it's just, this whole conference is about, bringing the awareness that, we can use games for something even more meaningful. We can make games more respectful, I think.
Fantastic. I thank you so much for your time, and go to the Games for Change website, take a look. They're part of the Tribeca Film Festival this year. It's an amazing event. Get involved and check out the wonderful experiences that this man has brought to us.